Welcome to Kiss the Reviews. I'm Armando. That's Corey. And today we're doing 1994's Street Fighter. And before we get started, if you want to follow me or Corey on Twitter, you could follow me at Junior D's. You could follow Corey at Corey_idol. And as always, if you want to follow the show, better follow. You could follow us at Kiss the Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Let's get into the Street Fighter of it all. We'll start with the cast. This film stars Jean-Claude Van Damme as Colonel Guile, Raul Julia as General M. Bison, and Ming-Na Wen as Chun-Li.
Dude, this movie's so bad, Raul Julia died because of it.
Oh my god. I don't know that it had anything to do with the movie, but sure, we'll go with that narrative. That works. Okay. I'm glad you brought not his death up. That sucks. He was the one positive about this fucking movie.
He was fantastic.
He was the only one outside of Ming-Na Wen. I will never say anything bad about her. I love her to death. But with that said, Raul brought it. He was the only one that cared. And okay, so I read two notes. I know, no research. As I was, looking up the cast and yada yada, just a few notes popped up. And the one reason he did this movie was because his kids were huge fans of the video game. So yeah, he's gonna fucking try. And it looked like he was the only one trying.
Yeah, no, he did a fantastic job. He was incredibly entertaining in this.
Yes.
And he even had the guy in the game's facial mannerisms down and how he rode that fucking floating throne and all that shit. Raul Julia fucking brought it. And like you said, was literally the only one that even gave a shit.
Yeah. You know how I know Jean-Claude Van Damme didn't give a shit in this movie? Well, A, he didn't have any writing credits, so he was like, why should I care? But two, I did also read that during the filming of this, he was such a problem because A, he was spending $10,000 a week on cocaine. So he was zooted this whole shoot. He would call in sick, so the director had to film other scenes that he wasn't in and get those shots. So he had to basically film around JCVD's bullshit. And it got so bad that they hired a wrangler for him. The problem was the guy that they hired as his wrangler also partied his dick off and apparently was partying with JCVD the whole time. All of that shows on film. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, dude. He may as well just walked around with a little fucking white powder under his nose. It's not good.
It's not good. And I will say this, back then, and then we'll get into the movie, but back then in the late 80s, really into the early 90s, these video game comic book adaptations to film, they just, looking back on it, they're all really bad because, and I don't know why, they couldn't write a story that made sense around whatever video game they were doing or whatever. All the stories are terrible in these types of films.
Yeah, and I think that's just mainly because you don't have to try. The content's already built in for you.
Yeah.
So in Mortal Kombat, we know what the story is. Who the fuck gives a fuck? Liu Kang's on this mission and Johnny Blaze is out. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
We're here to... And I think that was maybe the most disappointing thing with this was Mortal Kombat stuck to Mortal Kombat. It was a tournament.
Yeah.
There was no street fighting at all. I don't think literally anybody fought on asphalt one time. It never happened.
The only thing that looked remotely close to it was the final fight between
Yes.
JCVD and Bison. That was the only one that even remotely looked like the game.
Yep. And I really thought they were going to go that way when Raul Julia brings up, like, oh, he will face me like an honorable combat. So I thought it was going to be kind of like my guys versus your guys, winner takes all. Yeah. And I thought, like, cool, okay, let's see how this turns out. But that was not what happened.
Nope. And let's get into what happened. So,
nah, let's just go.
See you later. So this movie opens with a world news report on global news television. And they're reporting on the Civil War and Shadaloo, and Chun-Li reports on the evil dictator General M. Bison and his heavily armed forces.
All of that is accurate.
All right, well, let's get into the other scenes. So during this report, she interviews Colonel Guile, who gives Bison some muscle flexes and take this and yada yada. And Bison then hacks the feed and begins a back and forth with Guile. He tells him that he's going to kill all of these hostages if he doesn't get $20 billion in 3 days. And he also finds out that one of Giles' friends, Charlie, is one of his hostages. So he sends him to the research laboratory so they can fill him full of anabolic plasma and DNA mutagens and whatever. This was my favorite part, if there is a favorite part, because it made me laugh out loud, because they take him down to the lab and they put him in like the little chamber thing, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna make him look at like unpleasant videos to make him like angry and evil or whatever. And then they roll in the bags of shit, and then there's just like the close-up, the exposition close-up, like, this is how we're gonna make the evil super soldier.
Exactly. It's like bags of fucking slushy mix from 7-Eleven. Get the fuck out of here. No, this was so ridiculous. This reminded me of the George Clooney Batman, when they're like, what are you feeding Bane? And it's like, toxic venom. Look, it says toxic venom right here on the canister we're pouring into this tube. This shit drives me fucking insane. And obviously, I get it. It's meant for kids.
Yes.
But also, they threw a lot of like the humor usually Pixar has a hold on for adults who have to like be drugged to these kind of movies.
Yes.
Only the humor didn't hit either. So it's just dog shit all the way around.
Yes. It's one gigantic shit sandwich that they're trying to fucking force down your throat.
Make me the shit sandwich.
What is it with you in the shit sandwich? Do you really want to see somebody take a roll and stick duty in it and then they put it in their mouth?
So we then cut to two dudes, Ryu and Ken, and they're selling Nerf guns to Saget. And Saget then forces Ryu to fight his right-hand man, Vega, or Dollar Store Shredder, or whatever he is. But before the fight can begin, JCVD comes crashing through the wall to arrest everyone.
First off, if you're going, he arrests people like he's in the fucking NYPD. He rolls through with a tank with 2 fucking nuclear missiles attached to it. And he's like, you're all under arrest. No shit. We're all fucking dead if we don't. You're going to literally nuke this island if the club doesn't surrender. I think we give up. Yeah.
Corey's life lessons.
Hi, arms dealers. Uncle Corey here. If you happen to be making a purchase of weapons, and you rightfully so have double-crossed the double-cross that was coming on you, and we'll call you and no, my men already knew where your weapons were, and now we have the weapons, and you take them out, and you can't tell that they're Nerf guns, get out of the arms dealing game. You are not meant for this. Because literally every one of your hunchmen holds a Nerf gun thinking that's a real gun. And that should scare you. All of your henchmen are terrible or severely mentally disabled.
Okay, there's a couple of things in this movie where I think scenes were removed. cut for time or whatever. And this could be one of them because, and again, I wasn't a huge Street Fighter fan back in the day. I was more of a Mortal Kombat guy. So I don't know if it's Sagat or Sagat or whatever, but his character, to me, knew that those were Nerf guns, and he was like, "Oh, we're gonna shoot you." It's like, oh, it was like he was doing a bit. We found your guns, and we're gonna blah blah blah, and we're gonna shoot you, and like, oh, you sold us Nerf guns, and now we're gonna kill you or take you hostage or whatever the hell. But I think there was a piece missing in that because this whole scene was just, it was ridiculous and a tad not confusing, but it was just like, did you not know? Did you not know those were Nerf guns? Okay, cool. Awesome.
I think it's really sweet you're giving them the benefit of the doubt.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. That's all I'm gonna say.
Us millennials call that totes adorbs.
So while discussing how to track down Bison, JCVD sees Ken and Ryu fighting in the yard and recruits them to help. Ryu and Ken escape with Sagat, and during the escape, JCVD is shot and killed, and a tracking device is placed on the escaping truck by Chun-Li.
And the world mourns the loss of JCVD's character. Like, I mean, literally every flag in the entire world is lowered to half-staff.
And you know what? And Bison is incredibly sad about this as well because he really wanted to fight him.
Hundo P, bruh.
And,
Hundo P.
You know, his Bisonopolis vision is now somehow tainted because he doesn't get to fight JCVD. Just the big sign. Okay, I gotta quick. Don't do that. I gotta do it.
Don't do that, it's not good for you.
Hi, generals and evildoers and dictators and whatnot. It's cool. You have this vision of this city that you want to create and yada yada. And he goes into this whole monologue here about how he's not evil. He's just trying to create this city in which yada yada happens. Cool. It's also cool if you want to, I don't know, have like the little model city created, I guess. I mean, it's not really cool, but like, cool, you're an evil genius, fine. You don't do this. Don't put the big sign of what the city's called behind it, especially if it's called Bisonopolis. That's not cool.
No, I mean, look, I can't be the only one in 2024 that has seen the fact that this dude is basically Donald Trump.
Yes.
I mean, it's right there in front of you.
It's going to be the best city.
I got my own money. It's the greatest money.
It's got my face on it all.
Trumpopolis.
Chun-Li then here sneaks into the Allied Forces building, discovers Colonel Guile is not dead, and Guile has her taken into custody, but she escapes and gets back to E. Honda and Balrog. And I got a quick question about this scene.
Mm-hmm.
JCVD gets shot. You know, and there's other scenes cut in between this scene and when JCVD gets shot.
Mm-hmm.
And she's sneaking around and she's like, oh, the morgue. And she's like, what's this? This isn't a morgue, yada, yada. And then she gets through and JCVD is still under a sheet, but he's not dead. Why is JCVD still pretending to be dead, even though he's in like the Allied Forces? But they know he's not dead. They just wanted it to seem that it seems like he was under that sheet for a ridiculous amount of time just for this reveal.
He's been working really hard. And he needed to take a little nap before he got shit back going again. So, look, man, you catch your winks when you can. Everybody in the military knows you catch your sleep when you can. You want me to play dead? Can I play dead for like 12 hours? Is that cool?
I think his Wrangler Like he ran out of coke at this point, and he just collapsed. And it took his wrangler a while to get him his fix again. So he was just that. I think that wasn't even part of the movie. I think they just shot that, and he just happened to be in the shot, and he was like, ah.
They literally thought he might be dead and pulled like a Bruce Lee thing where they filmed like his dead body for part of the movie. They're just like, fuck it. Insurance will cover the rest, I guess. I think you're 100% accurate. That dude had a fucking coke attack and just fucking peaced out for a minute.
Chun-Li, E-Honda, and Balrog then get into Bison's criminal hideout as a magic act, apparently. She then gets Ken to follow her into a tent, and then she tries to get Ken and Ryu to help her in blowing up all the weapons. And this is the one thing where, like, I think there's a missing scene here, because it's going back and forth between, like, inside the tent with Bison and Sagat, and here with her tying them up and like, weapons, and we're gonna blow them up and yada yada. And she then unties them and says, you got 10 minutes. For fucking what? Because they go into this tent, she sends the truck in, there's like this weird standoff, and they're like, oh, somebody double-crossed the double-crossies, and they're in there. And she's got like this message playing for Bison and Sagat as the truck rolls in to blow up. And then when they get to Bison's like criminal hideout hostage place, they're like, I don't know if this is all just a big ruse, but it's not, because they're like, oh, you double crossed us. And what did you want them to do when they went back into the goddamn tent? I don't understand any of this.
The scene isn't missing. It disappeared. It's an illusion. Magic. Mind freaked. Blammo.
Dude, this was as bad as a Chris Angel episode. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
The editing was dog shit here. Yeah. And this is what happens when you take a ready-made story like Street Fighter, the video game, and just throw in some loose bullshit. Yes. Nobody cares if will Ken help Ryu, or will he go back to his devilish ways? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Nobody made a Team Ken or Team Ryu shirt. Nobody fucking cared. They just didn't. So stick with what you were supposed to be, which is a fucking video game and street fighting. Don't do all this convoluted, now you're helping me, but we're double crossing this, but Ken might double cross you because and JCVD's dead, so he can infiltrate the thing, but obviously he doesn't infiltrate it undercover because literally walks right through the fucking front door.
Yes. So, but when we then get this scene where an allied official shows up when like JCVD is talking to his troops about this surge into Bison's hideout. And he tells JCVD to call off the assault because they're going to pay the $20 billion. And he also tells JCVD to give new orders to his troops and that he's relieved of his duties. So JCVD addresses the troops and tells them that I'm not going anywhere. This is his Wolf of Wall Street moment. He's like, I'm not fucking going anywhere. And who's with me?
I'm not fucking leaving.
It's like the like Dollar General version of the Wolf of Wall Street speech.
And who wants to go with me?
All of a sudden, it cuts between Ryu and Ken saving Honda and Balrog from their cell, and they go to save Chun-Li, who's with Bison, and she doesn't need saving, though, because she's kicking the ever-loving shit out of him. But they come in, create a diversion, and then he gasses them all, and then, like, now they're taken prisoner again. This is like a bad Batman episode from, like, the 70s.
this is the bullshit writing that, like, in any kind of movie drives me crazy. Like, we've had a couple movies like this recently where it's like, hey, we're here. Oh, I'm right in the middle of fighting. I'm going to stop and turn around, though, and see what's up. Like, what's happening, guys? Hey, oh, shit, I got hit again.
You were correct.
It's just, this shit is fucking bonkers to me why you put it in here.
Yeah, no, this is crazy. And we then, if it doesn't get crazy enough, okay, we have all this shit going on. And right now, the characters are all taking shape. Like, Chun-Li is dressed in the shit that she's in the video game. Ken and Ryu, even though Ken looks nothing like Ken from the game, but whatever. They're dressed in their shit, right?
Gotta have a token white guy.
Exactly. So that's all taking shape. So now they're like, we need Blanca to take shape here. And they cut to this Walmart off the beaten path dude. But the doctor halts the programming and instead starts showing Charlie like pleasant images, and he wants to make him good. So now he's like a 50-50 bad guy, good guy. And he gets out, and dude, I know we praise practical effects on this show. As we should. I love practical effects. I know you do too. And when done right, and I think I've said this a number of times, when done right, practical effects are great. Blanca's makeup and shit that they put on his face, they make him look like Chaka from Land of the Lost. That's like
Totally.
he's a green Chaka who isn't nearly big enough, okay? If you want big, go the Lou Ferrigno route. Get somebody who's jacked.
Yeah, if they did that, they would have got copyright and trademark infringement. They would have been fucked, because then you would have had the Incredible Hulk. I don't know what the fuck was happening here. You put a Chucky wig on some fucking dude and painted him like puke green. And then told him to go out there and talk like Simple Jack for 20 minutes. Like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, he's like Chaka happy. Like, that's this dude, that like this whole thing. And this whole, all of the scenes from here on out with Chaka, and because that's what I'm calling him now, with Green Chaka and this doctor, it's like, message. That's everything was about the lesson learned. And you know, because JCVD then sneaks in here, and we can talk about the invisibility of it all as he's sneaking in, and they got the video of nothing skating across the water. Okay, cool.
We don't have to discuss it.
So JCVD breaks in here, right? And you know, he gets in and he sees his buddy Charlie, and he goes to like blow his brains out, and the doctor's like, no, we can't do that because he's good and bad.
Let's talk about quality of life, shall we? Because this motherfucker needs a DNR right now. Like, he should not. Where is he gonna go? You know what I mean? Like, where is he gonna work in Times Square as an Incredible Hulk lookalike? Because that's what those motherfuckers look like. Like, oh, I'm Hulk Incredible, spelled with a C. Like, get the fuck.
He's gonna either do that, or he's just gonna walk across the country helping random people along the way. Like, that's like the only two options he has as far as work goes. I do want to bring one thing up, because when Colonel Guile is bringing the boat and they do the invisibility thing, and then they're like, "Oh, we found out that you're not invisible," and this. It could have just been an ode to the video game, but the panel comes up with the joystick and all the buttons.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and I know that that's like a call, just a shout out to the game, which is fine if you want to put that in there. But General Bison, I don't like him, and I would never play video games with him, because this dude is what we call a classic button masher. He has no strategy. He just like palms the buttons. And I don't want to play video games with you, guy. I don't like that guy.
Yeah, this was the most inaccurate part of this movie because in real life, that guy is missing 2 of those missiles and taking his controller going, fuck! And just throwing it as hard as he can.
He's just rage quitting.
Yep. He's done. He broke his TV. He's done.
So then we see the hostages. They open the little hole that the hostages are in, and Bison's like, we're gonna bring the knockoff Incredible Hulk up through the floor, and it's gonna be this whole like reveal thing. And coked out JCVD jumps out of this fucking thing, kicks Bison. Like the flying JCVD through the air of it all was in these bad movies, I find things to laugh at, obviously, because this shot's bad or the story's bad. This, I fell over when he comes out of the thing and flies towards Bison to kick him. This is the funniest scene in the whole movie.
In the director's cut, you can actually see the shot where he's flying through the air out of the boat going...
He was flying through the air to get to shoot this scene. And then he flew through the air to kick Bison in this one.
And directly after shooting this scene is when they had to shoot the blanket scene because he was dead.
Hell yes.
He had enough energy to shoot this scene because here, all hell breaks loose. Everybody's fighting. Yep. The soldiers are doing their thing. Now, the Street Fighter characters all emerge in their garb. They're fighting with the Allied forces. They start fucking shit up and saving the hostages. And Bison gets kicked into the fucking motherboard. And everything starts blowing up. And we think Bison's dead, but he's not. And now he appears and he has like electronic or electric superpowers or whatever.
I got maglev. It's the best maglev in the whole history of maglev.
We also get Ryu and Ken fighting Sagat and Shredder here. So you get that little fight going on. And JCVD finally kicks Bison into the huge rack of TV screens, as you do. Shit starts blowing up. The Allied forces save the hostages, run out of the building as JCVD tries to save Charlie, but lessons in things, and they, I guess, stay in the building. And the movie ends as the whole place blows up. All of Bison's troops are arrested, and Guile finally shows up, and they all celebrate. And as the building collapses, we get one last pose from the good guys. Yeah!
So dumb.
It's so dumb.
So dumb.
This movie is the most ridiculous thing I have seen in a minute. And we watched Dennis the Menace on this show.
Yeah, dude. This was a different level of bad. I felt really bad for Kylie Minogue having to work on this and having literally, like, I can imagine, like, fuck yeah, I'm in an American movie, it's gonna be awesome, mate, or whatever they say. And she gets on set and it's just coked out fucking JCVD in every single scene she's in. And then she gets no real scene. There's nothing for her to do in this entire movie. Nothing.
No.
I felt terrible for her. At least Raul Julia got to act like by himself at points.
Yes. Yes.
This was
I got nothing to say. I said it earlier. This was a shit sandwich. What's his name? Stephen E. DeSouza, the director, also wrote it. And apparently he said he wanted to write it, but only if he could direct it as well. And they told him, we're pitching this movie, write it. And I want to say he wrote it within 48 hours, and it shows. And if you want to write the rough draft to pitch it, the movie studio is going to buy it, especially back then. Like, oh, you're going to do, because this is when like comic book movies and video game movies and all that shit, those were starting to make money. And it was like, okay, like let's get into that game. Like, let's make some fucking real money with this. I get it. You didn't do a rewrite. You didn't read through what you wrote and go, that doesn't work. That doesn't play. No, they didn't. They didn't. They just went with the rough draft. And it shows. This movie is hot garbage.
Yeah, I wish I had started writing in the 90s.
Dude, you'd be Stephen King-esque at this point. Like, you would have made so much money.
Nobody would know my name because I would be out of the game. I'd be doing fucking lines with JCVD on the set of this fucking piece of shit movie. That's what I'd be doing.
Hell yes.
I don't get it. I just don't. This was clearly made for us as kids in the 90s. I don't remember ever seeing this because at this point I had discovered boobs and vagina. So I was super into that and a little less into video games at this point.
I was same. I was a little less into video games, but I knew Street Fighter. The reason I wasn't a big Street Fighter fan as a video game is because I was so horrible at it. And I would go to like the arcade and people would just kick the fuck out of me. And I'm like, well, this is pointless. I just put $6 into this goddamn thing. Got my ass kicked by the computer. We're not playing this game anymore. That's why I wasn't a fan of it. But when the movie came out, I don't necessarily know that I saw this in theaters. I don't even know that it came out in theaters. I'm sure it did. But when I did see it, I thought it was corny as shit. And I wanted to see it because video games and things. But when I saw it back then, I thought it was corny as shit. So it obviously wasn't directed and meant for people at my age. Your high teens, 18, 19.
No.
This was like 10 to 12. I'm assuming is what this was directed at.
This was made for kids in the 90s young enough to think that the American flag tattoo on JCVD's shoulder was real.
And dope.
That's who this was made for. Dude, you know, at least 6 people worldwide went out and got that tattoo.
Absolutely. I think, hey, in the comments, let us know. Were you one of those 6?
And it is faded. It's got hair growing out of it now. You just tarnished Old Glory.
Yeah, you did.
For a coked up JCVD.
And I'm going to kick that son of a bitch Bison's ass so hard.
That's all I got. This movie's trash. There's no redeeming qualities outside of Raul Julia and Ming-Na Wen, and because I love her. She's one of mine.
Yeah, you're building like a little small world exhibit in your pants there, aren't you?
I am.
You're just tackling them all.
Every movie we do, I was like, oh yeah, her too.
Her too. I fuck her too.
I'm proving to everybody that I don't have a type. It's literally just...
No, and I don't even know why that's even a question. We have dicks. Our type is what we're into, which happens to be vagina. So that's what we go towards.
Fair enough, and we'll end there. Does that sound fair?
I think it's a good shout out.
All right, I think because it could go off the rails from here. So for Corey,
this is my TED Talk on the female vagina.
For Corey, I'm Armando. This is Kiss the Reviews, and this was 1994's Street Fighter.